All right, so let's take everything that we've learned from this lecture and apply it to this photo. What I'm about to do right now is what you guys are going to be doing for homework. You're going to take 25 photos, you're going to construct them, and then for the homework, you're going to upload your 5 best to me for submission. Or if you want to, you can upload also things that you've really struggled with. If there were difficult angles that you had, please share that with me. That was also something that could be very beneficial for both of us. So here's my sphere, like we start always. Here's my center line, and then I'm going to drop in my brow line. So remember, we're doing the brow line before we drop in our before we drop in the chin. So I'm doing this. So instead of me dropping one big ellipse, or at least like part of the ellipse, which you still can, I like to, it's just a little bit easier for me to drop the brow line first, and then once I turn the corner of the face, I can drop this down to the ear. I'm also going to extend the back of the head like what we did in the previous lecture, and then I'll commit to a chin. Well, soft commit to a chin. Bring this down, match my angle for the jaw. I'm going to leave that open. I'm also going to drop in my spine, so do that quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time here. What I also want to talk about, which we didn't talk about in the previous video, is the hyoid bone. So looking at our last drawing, we can see that there's a lot of empty space between our spine and the jaw. Like realistically, we would see like the neck maybe somewhere here, but we need the hyoid bone to kind of determine this, or maybe vice versa. But we'll talk about that in a second, or at least at the end of this video. So there's my brow line again. Here's my nose line. Hairline is beyond the horizon, and then I'm going to drop in my temple very quickly. My vertical, keeping this parallel with my center line, my original center line, and then my ear. So I'll go a little bit darker here. Edit that out. Now I'm going to drop in my base of the eye socket line. Whoop. Readjust all of these. Bring this back. And starting with my eye socket. So 1, 2, 3. Nice and wide for the far side. Really just seeing like the big swoop. This happens very abruptly. I'm actually just going to leave that right there. So here's the question that I get. How am I seeing the zygomatic? How do I see the cheekbone? I don't see it. I'm just drawing from knowledge. So this is like my best estimate as to where this would be. So I also did say in the last video that I would show you the long way, and then I would show you the abridged way of doing this. So here's what we can also do. I'll show you what we used to do was we would rhythmically continue this curve from the top of the ear down to this. You might have seen this before, that big cut, which looks like the Iron Man mask, which is really cool. I like this. It's very elegant. It's supposed to address the zygomatic arch, and then also the dental sphere, all in one big elegant swoop. The problem with this is a lot of people were misinterpreting that as to that's where the zygomatic arch was, and they would draw the zygomatic arch up over the ear, right? And that is definitely not correct. So we stopped doing it. Let's just get really detailed. Let's be accurate about it. So what we can do instead, because I feel like this is just a little bit more accurate, instead of going from the top of the ear, I can start from here, where our vertical dissection of the temple meets that center line, which is the top of the eye socket to the top of the zygomatic. I can swoop from here, so I can take that to the chin. So that's actually a lot closer to what we see in real life. But again, we're cutting down to the bone. We're not we haven't really dropped all that much flesh on there. But speaking of flesh, this is where we do it. Is that a thing? We do it. I'm dropping in my keystone, which is still bone, but then now I'm going to get right to the nose. And we'll see how this breaks down. So things to be mindful of is, where is this, like, this is just an observational thing. Where's the tip of the nose in relationship to, like, let's say something I've already established, which is the brow, right? So it's just inside of that. So I know that I could comfortably place the tip of the nose here. Here's my dip. Bridge of my nose. Here's the side plane of the nose. So paying attention, looking at her, I can see that her septum is connecting higher than her nostrils. So I can make a decision here. I can either bring the septum down to the nose line and then bring the nostrils just south of that, or I can bring the nostrils to the nose line and bring the septum higher. I'm going to bring the septum down to the nose line and then just bring this slightly below that, so I have just the slightest angle up from there. I see a hint of her nose or nostril on the other side. I'm going to leave that there. And then there's my closed side plane. Right, so I'll very lightly, and I talked about this earlier, the brow ridge for a female, really soft with this. Don't need to overpronounce this. So only the slightest plane shift from the forehead to there. I'll also drop in the eye. It's almost like we're seeing the contours of her eyeball there. So again, no need to overdo it with that. Again, exposing, because this is an upshot, slightly exposing the top of the eyeball. I'm petting that line way too much. Just slightly pronounce our dental sphere, now thirds again, remember? So between the chin and the nose line, just breaking down quick thirds. So 1, wrap that around. So here's something that I didn't address in the first video, which we should talk about right now, and that's the mandible or the jawline. Originally, this line just continued down until we met with the original jawline that we had, but now we can be a little bit more accurate. Realistically speaking, everybody's jawline pivots in. If you want to design a more masculine face, then I would continue this to be straight down. But for most everybody, I'm going to angle this in a little bit. Right, so I'm pivoting from the zygomatic down. And if I was drawing a female, I would stop roughly around the mouth line and then start to curve in towards the chin softly. Right, so I can have a more feminine jawline. Going back to this, and this is where we can see that this works on both levels. So I can pivot this in from the zygomatic, bring it down to the mouth line, and then bring it to the chin for a softer jawline. If I was designing a male and I wanted to really increase the sense of masculinity, I can continue this straight down, bring it down to the chin line, and then connect. So this makes all the difference of like a square jaw to a soft jaw. Right? So that's like one major place aside from the brow where we can really describe the difference between genders. So that's it. That's really it. The last thing, like I said, was the hyoid bone. So the hyoid bone's a weird thing. I'll do this really quickly. And there's, like, this can get confusing for some people. Hopefully this makes sense what I'm about to say. So here's like a side view of the skull. Here's your spine. So the cervical vertebrae, opening of the rib cage, clavicle. Right. So the thing is, this is like a very long distance that we're traveling from the chin back to the spine. And we know that the neck would fill in more here. The hyoid bone is basically where we're seeing this break from underplane to front plane of the neck. It's right above the esophagus, so the Adam's apple, it's right above that. It's not actually the Adam's apple, and it's a free-floating bone. So this bone is it's like to get like really technical, it kind of looks like the bottom jaw of a snake almost. It has two little nodes on the corners, and it does this. So what this does, this is holding a lot of muscles in place. All of the muscles on the underplane of your jaw, your omohyoid, your sternohyoid, and then this leads into the esophagus. So let's simplify this into like three planes, right? So we'll keep this quite simple. So like I said, also this is pretty free floating. This isn't fused to any other bone. So think of it kind of like the patella or the scapula, how it's held in place by muscle and by tendon. But this changes from person to person. This doesn't sit the same on everybody. So somebody who is fit, like this might be where this connects. So again, leave the space. Don't place this against the spine, because then that's gonna like make, again, the chin jut out too much, and also we're not leaving room for air or water or food to pass through the esophagus. So it's up here. So again, this is like a fit person, and this is like me, and that's how you get this going under your chin, right? So not only does it move when we're speaking, but it also can, I guess, permanently move to level of fitness. So again, I'm just looking for the plane shift. So I'll drop this in right here. I don't want to put this too low. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the 2 points from the front, 1 and 2, and connecting this to the chin. And then this back corner here, I'm going to take that and connect that to the back corner of the mandible. So now we don't have just a mask, we have, a face. Again, I'll place this here. I'll lower this just so we can see this better. Connecting the front. I still feel like that's jutting out a lot. That might be too much. That should fall forward a little bit more. I'll lower this one so we can see it better. This is practically the same thing as the one we're drawing right now. So this would be like esophagus, sternocleido, traps. Right, so again, that's it. That's it for the homework, is 25 of these. And then you're submitting either the 5 best or a couple of the best and a couple of things that you were struggling with. This is basically what the homework should look like. I am going to upload this as our example. Next week we're getting into facial features, but that's it for this week. I hope that made sense. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. This is going to be a good term. I'm looking forward to it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.